webinar that our friend Alberto Abella from FIWARE Foundation will use to explain and to show one of the most relevant initiatives that the foundation, together with a number of partners, has initiated a few years ago in order to provide developers of the FIWARE community, but not only of the FIWARE community, with standardized data models to support the development of their applications. So a very quick introduction about who we are. So what exactly IDEASFORUM is. So we are a sort of aggregation of different entities from the public sector, from industry, from academia, and we are working together to try to support the digital transformation of our society. Digital transformation is a big word, or as a buzzword, better. What we are trying to do, we are trying to apply a methodology that is similar to the one that open source communities are using since ages, I should say. So we are trying to learn and cherry pick from successful experiences, the bits and pieces that we need to somehow support our public authorities and our politicians in taking decisions and implementing new digital services for our citizens. So we foster collaboration because this is part of the open source culture, it's part of the DNA of the open source culture. We value a lot diversities and digital diversity in particular. So we don't care where the good things are coming from, provided that we can reuse them and integrate them with the others we are working on. And we also embrace a culture of doing. This is why we are always trying to get developers and our friends in local authorities or utilities to work together and try to do things, validate them, and then work together to build sustainable and replicable approaches. As an aggregation, we have, I would say, 4 core areas of competence. And across these 4 areas of competence, we are looking at technology with, I would say, somehow different eyes. We have a keen, I would say, approach that is somehow leveraging a lot on the contributions from sociologists and economists. Because we think that we can develop whatever technology we want, but if it's not sustainable in the long term, there is no way for it to be implemented at scale. The topic that we will be addressing today is, I would say, a transversal one. So ontologies and standard data models can support development in smart cities or smart energy applications. Is definitely one of the, I would say, key development areas for smart mobility, and the Connecting Euro Facility digital program is also fostering a lot discussion about building the foundation for interoperability by leveraging on standardized data models. We, as IDEASFORUM, are a FIWARE iHub, and we are particularly proud of that. I have personally been involved with the foundation now for several years, and we try to leverage on the community and on the culture of the community to achieve the goals that I just stated with you. So collaborating to implement successfully digital services for citizens and businesses in our urban areas. We do have a number of partners from different from different areas and different domains. This is just a summary of a few of them that are supporting us and participating to our activities. And without further ado, I will give the floor to Alberto, so he can take over and start presenting his slides.
Okay, let me do it. Just a screen. I have to share the right screen. Let me do it. With his name. This is the why I have so many things open. Oh no, I wasn't going to share everything, and I have several. Share. Oh my God. Share application. Share. Oh my God. I don't know what's happening. We can display your share content. Make sure because I did a wrong click, and maybe I have to reconnect. Sorry. So one moment. Yeah. All right.
Okay, so while we wait for Alberto to join us back, just another comment on the work of the Ideas Forum.
I guess I'm back.
Here. Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm back.
So,
I'm back. The point is that I have to share the right screen, and I'm looking because I have so many things open.
It's okay.
Here we are. Here we are.
Okay. Great. Then I'll stop and I will leave you the floor. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Gianluca, and thank you everybody for joining. I'm not going to introduce FIWARE Foundation. FIWARE is just the entity which is creating the software and the standards around the FIWARE platform. As you know, it's a platform which was firstly supported by the European Commission with a project in 2011, and now is living, let's say, independently and providing solutions for customers since 2016. So I'm part of the foundation. I'm the data modeling expert, and I'm currently responsible for the Smart Data Models Initiative. So this presentation, it has two parts, a very small one about the context. So why is relevant the rest of the presentation, why I'm telling you these kind of things. I have two screens, and therefore, if you send me any question on the chat, you can do it because I will be able to see it. And I guess that I have many things to say. So therefore, maybe it's better to listen to the things that you want to listen, not just the things that I want to say. Okay, so please feel free to use the chat or maybe the sound and to make questions during the presentation. And of course, by the end, we'll have some minutes for that. But it's not a problem to stop and to further get into any of the points that I'm presenting. So having said that, let's go for the context. Okay. So first is the approach to data models. I'm going to explain to you what is de facto standardization. And I'm going to make you some questions which brings into your mind some of the concerns that you should have regarding this kind of things. So the point is that if your business is changing frequently, when I mean frequently is that what happens now is the same that happened 3 years ago. Possibly the answer is no. And with the coronavirus, the answer is absolutely no. Okay. And regarding standardization, are the standards that you are using helping you on adapting to this? Do these standards meet your needs? Or I've checked just, I'm not expert on energy, okay? I'm just working with some of the data models of energy. I've seen one of the energy standards, maybe it's not very popular, I'm sorry, which is the ISO 50001. So, and I guess, and I promise that I take it just randomness. So I'm not using a bad solution. The first version in ISO is 2011. The next version is 2018. So during 7 years, you have the very same standard for accomplishing something into your business, which from my point of view is, I don't know, hard. Most of the standards, it is true, that have a 4 years period for adaptation. Okay, and the point that I want to bring here is that, is this enough, or can could we have something additionally which help us on work in a standardized way, but without paying the cost of being for 3 years or for 2 years or for 6 years outdated? And the potential answer is yes, we can do things on that side. Okay. What I'm going to present you is just the differences between what is called a classic standardization approach and a de facto standardization approach. In fact, we live in a world, especially regarding technology, in which de facto standardization is all the way around. De facto standardization is made by the main agents into the digital ecosystem. I'm going to give you an example. Schema.org is a source from Google, Bing, Yandex, and Yahoo, if I'm not wrong. So they are not any kind of a standardization body, but in terms of data modeling, is quite relevant. So this is a de facto standard in which we are living. And there is plenty of standards. Fortunately, some of these standards, by the end, they are released as an open standard. And then we all can adjoin to this standard and use it and create an industry on that. But there are some other areas in which those standards are not so open, let's say in the document format or these kind of things, where even being initially open, the fact is that it grants some kind of monopoly for some companies. Okay. And the differences between the classic standardization and the de facto standardization, in terms of the standardization body, you have the ISO, you have the DIN in Germany, okay, but you can have also some groups which are especially dedicated to some of the aspects of the standardization that you need. So they are not, let's say, not completely stable or not fully dedicated. Whenever there is a need, they work. Whenever there isn't, they don't. Okay. These groups, the good point in the standardization bodies is that they are supposedly well balanced, supposedly, because I've seen weird things on that. But on the de facto standardization, who is going to join these groups? Whoever who wants. I have something to say. Okay. The consensus mechanisms in the classic standardization is quite procedural. So there is plenty of reviews, plenty of opportunities to control or to say something. It's not that the way we are doing things. So if there is a clear consensus, let's go for it. If there's a regulation, go for it. But if there is not an agreement, we have to keep on working. And there is kind of a benevolent dictator saying, oh, this is the decision that we have to make. Because in this point, time matters. Okay, and the prestige of the standards in some cases is because it says by ISO, so it's in a standard, definitely. Nobody can complain against that. But what if you are using this standard and it works for you? So you don't have that prestige, but it tackles your problems. So you have a solution. Okay. What is the advantage of the classic standardization? Okay, supposedly you control the biasing, so you are not providing any agent in the ecosystem that, an advantage. Sometimes it does not happen because when there is a powerful agent into these ecosystems, I don't want to give you names, but I think that you will be in your head. They can somehow control or condition what are the standards for. Okay. Okay, it's a strong coherence checking with formal standardizations. You have somehow predictable reviews, so possibly in 4 years you will have a new standard. Sometimes it doesn't comply with this, but it is true that because they are selling the standards, they have some kind of a funding revenue source. Okay. On the other hand, in the de facto standardization, the standard is created together with the implementation. So if there is not an implementation, there is not such a standard. And the evolution is by use, and there are quick reviews. So you don't have to wait for everybody to say something. But as long as there is no inconveniences, you can extend the standard as soon as you want. And of course, there is a low cost. So what is the main disadvantages? That sometimes into the standardization, not only you have very slow reviews, very long periods of reviewing the standard, but also you can create theoretical standards, so standards that nobody uses or nobody's going to use ever. And it happens, unfortunately, with some frequency. But on the other hand, in the de facto standardization, this is something that is not happening mostly because one of the requirements is that it has to be used. Okay, it is true that we could have some kind of bias standards. Okay, I'm not saying that the de facto standardization is perfect, but it's as quick as the market, which sometimes is what we need. Okay, so we need a solution independently if it is the best of the market. We need a solution right now, not waiting 3 years or 4 years for a new standard to tackle with it. So, and in terms of the standardization, what will happen when you have run a project, you have defined for whatever reason your own data models, and what happens when your project ends? What will happen when you have to update the data models? Could you afford it to do it by yourself, to check every documentation, everything that you can connect? Or when you are asked to make it interpretable with a new standard, like the INSPIRE standard or a SPINE directive or anything like that? Or you need to update just to new regulations? So the point is that maybe you cannot afford this by yourself or by your company, or even it does not make sense. Okay, and as a contributor, we have to check what is the cost of integrating new standards in terms of time to market. So if we have to create our own data model, okay, it takes time, definitely. It takes cost, of course. And what if you are out of the definition of the standards or you have to adapt it? So the point is that what we do is just to create an open initiative in which these standards that you need now has been developed and not invented. I'll get more into this. So first of all, I want to explain to you what are the 10 principles of the Smart Data Models Initiative. Okay. So first of all, it's a community site. Okay, therefore, it's something in which the participation is open. Okay, and we include detailed data models. What we mean detailed data models is that we have a written specification, we have examples of the standard, of the payloads of the standard, and we have also a schema for validating these payloads. Okay. We have also, this is impossible to be run just by a single organization. Nobody has knowledge and resources for doing it. Okay, and we are doing just with other relevant organizations, and our approach is completely decentralized. I'll explain in the structure section, but there is a quite decentralized organization in which every part can run independently. Okay, but in a coherent way. Let's go for it. One is the check-ins. So we have a common guidelines on how to standardize things. Okay. And we check for the consistency of the coherence. In fact, one of the things that we do is just to check that the property, independently of the data model that you are using means the same, is the same type of value, and so on. So if we are talking about temperature can be something relevant, let's say, for energy, of course, but for environment, for smart cities, and for many others. So if we define a temperature as a figure, it will be a figure. It won't be a figure for environment, a string for smart cities, and an object for energy, because it is the kind of things which makes the incompatible and standardization that worth the effort. Okay, so if we can trust that this once defined, this means something, that you know the type of content that you got, then standardization is feasible. What else? The point is that we also provide an agile method. So we don't have so lengthy review procedures and so on. So as I'll explain later, GitHub, possibly most of you are familiar with GitHub as a front end, but Git as a tool, we are working with that. So whenever there is a new version, we just pull request on Git, and if it's approved, go for it. So there is nothing else to be done. So therefore, our revision procedure could last just days, weeks, or some month if there is some, let's say, some kind of this discussion, but not years. So it makes no sense. Okay. And what we provide, it is true that all the data models are compatible with NGSI, with FIWARE platform. So they are interoperable with this platform. So whenever you are using FIWARE, these data models, just take it and use it. Nothing else needs to be done. But it is also true that we are making some exports of these data models because the specification is valid, of course, for FIWARE platform, but for many other platforms. And in fact, we are doing yet the CSV exports of every data model. And in the coming future, we'll extend this to SQL payloads, something that you can take it and put into your application independently if you're using the NGSI. Sorry. Oh my God. Sorry. Okay. And of course, our goal is to reduce the time of the I'm just muting my phone. So the time that you dedicate to creating data models. So you don't have to invent if something is already invented and is suitable for your use. Okay. And of course, what we are doing just is accumulating experience of practical use cases, because sometimes, and I'm plenty of things to comment. There are ontologies and most of the semantics, which is very consistent, very interesting, but nobody uses. Because when you go to the direct use, you realize that this is not the way the things are working. Let me put one example, and I'm taking advantage. It's not from your sector, but it's something which is relevant to me. So when you are in the farming sector, so you have a farm, and you have a temperature in buildings of the farm, a temperature is a very relevant parameter, because depending on the temperature, maybe your chicken can die or your other animals can get ill. And therefore, you need to be checking the temperature constantly across several points into your farm. So if we have a former project in which you have the building data model, which has no temperature at all, and then the sensors, and this sensor has temperatures. Okay, this division, having the building for one side, a relation with the sensors, and these sensors have a temperature, means that our project has to expend 25% more processing capability for getting this temperature, only because the data model was not structured for the actual use, which from the point of view of the semantics is perfect. Okay, you have a building, which is an entity, you have a sensor, which is a very different one, and then you have a temperature. But from the practical point of view, they are checking constantly the temperature, and therefore this request is constantly happening. And therefore, if you can check the building and get the temperature from there, is good enough. Okay, so that's why in some of the points, do you trust on existing regulation? As long as they are adopted, yes. But if it's not adopted, maybe there is a good reason for not doing so. Okay. It's some of the points that I have in advance. There is something that I want to stress out, which is we have an open licensing. Therefore, every data model that you have here is open. You can use it. You can use it as much as you can. You can modify it to your needs, and you can share that modifications. And of course, we'll be happy to receive that modification or that suggestions. But you are not constrained by any limitations in the terms of the use of the data models. Okay. And of course, let me insist that we are based on real cases scenario. Okay, and based on real use cases, because otherwise our data models won't be used, and there is something that we cannot afford. So we cannot afford of having data models and to maintain data models and to create data models that nobody uses. Okay. Last points are we are based on Git. Okay. GitHub currently is our front end, but GitHub is now is part of Microsoft company. Maybe tomorrow will be in some other place, but I guess that Git will be the tool that we will keep with the data models. And last, yeah, and consensus as a main decision method, as I've explained to you. Okay. And the structure of the initiative. So we have, let's say, three main levels. We have in GitHub, we have an umbrella repository in which we have all the main documentation regarding the initiative. We have the guidelines for coding these new data models. We have templates for the different elements of the data model. We have a directory with some scripting tools, okay? And we have something which is important, the inventory of domains, of attributes, of the status of documentation, and so on. And of course, we have the context that you use in the implementation of NGSI-LD context brokers. As you can see, we have a second level, which are the domain level, in which we have several domains. So one is smart energy, of course, but there is smart cities, smart environment, and this is growing, in fact. Okay, and below there is the level of subject. The subject is just a group of data models, and the subject usually depends only on one data model, but for some special data models, this is not the case. And I guess that you are going to understand quickly. Imagine weather. Weather is relevant, of course, for energy production, of course, but it's also important for smart destinations. Yes, it's important for smart cities. It's important for environment, and therefore, this kind of data models, which affect to several domains, or it's clear that they affect to several domains, are into a special domain called cross-sector. Okay, technically, these subjects are sub-repositories of the main repository, and therefore, if you update a subject or the data models that you have into a subject, then you are updating automatically into every domain that this subject depends on. Okay, we have some scripts which are running on a daily basis that they are updating whenever it is necessary. And inside each subject, okay, what you have, sometimes you have some shared elements which are common for all the data models of this subject, and then you have in the root. And if this is not the case, what you have is a number of directories, and in each directory you have three main elements. Okay, the first main element is just the specification, which is written in Markdown, but in a Markdown close to YAML in order to be automated. We have also a schema.json, which is for those who are not familiar with JSON schema, is a JSON file which allows you to validate if a JSON file complies with a definition. Okay, and we have some examples into the different formats. We have, as you are familiar with FIWARE, you know that the context broker can deliver to you the normalized format or just the key values. So, and we have examples of the key values on the normalized, either in the NGSI v2 or in NGSI-LD. Okay, we have four examples for every data model across all the subjects. Okay, and this is what you can see. You can see we have the GitHub, but we also have a web page for those users who are not, let's say, they are not technical people. Okay, and we are going to browse a bit. Just let me click on it. It will happen to have here. Yes, I guess that you are seeing my screen, isn't it, with the browser?
Yes. We see it.
What we see here is just a repository. Okay, data models is this, the umbrella that I've explained to you is this. Okay, and here in the specification you have all the domains. So these are the current domains, the current official domains. There are some others which are not official because they are growing, like aeronautics. Okay, and smart destination is also an official one yet. Okay, And of course, we have energy. And inside energy, you see that there are, in this case, two subjects, one for green energy and another for energy. Right? So if we get into green energy, you can see that there is two data models, okay? And these two data models inside, I'll go into it. But before, I want to show you that that's the contributors. I don't know who is the contributor. Okay, this person is the contributor of these two data models. If you want, you can be listed here with your mail, with your organization. If you want, it can be a project or any other comments, and this can be done for all the data models. Go for the other, for energy, and we can see the contributors. Yeah. So these people are the contributors of these data models which are inside the energy. And sometimes because they are coming from the old times. So I've joined the initiative less than 1 year ago. There are some pending information, or maybe the people in contributing did not want to release some of this data. It's up to them. Okay, even it's up to you if you want to appear here. Okay. And of course, you see here some data models with the term incubated. What does it mean? It means, and I will explain to you into the life cycle part, that these data models are under development. Okay, and there are some people working. What you have here is just a plain link. I don't know what is the status of this data model. It's a link to the repository, to the incubator repository, which, okay, something is being done, and possibly this data model in a, let's say, in some days or some weeks or some months will be ready for being officially into the subject. Okay, let me go back to the presentation because I'm just going for many things. Okay, so this repository is oriented to developers, but there is also a front end which is oriented to end users. I don't know in what part are you. Okay. Yeah, I have a message, Alberto. I just see only your presentation. And when I was browsing the website, you did not see the. You did not see, okay. Yeah, then I have to change the way of sharing. Okay, so let me stop the sharing. I'm sharing other way because with this you will be able to when I click. Okay, let me screen. I guess it's giving to me the same. I'm not sure to do it properly. Either way, I'm going to check it out. So I'm clicking in here. Did you see a new browser or no?
No.
No.
So I have to share. Okay.
It's just your presentation.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going here. Just let me go. What is the name? Because yeah, here we are. Okay. I guess that you are not seeing my browser, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the front end. What is the relation between GitHub and this? This front end is just a web page in which you have several resources which are not provided by GitHub. What kind of resources? We have resources like the news, okay, which is telling you what is happening into the initiative. So this is the update on street parking. The context, this is a very important update because now it's automatic. So whenever there is a new data model officially approved, the context will be updated on a daily basis. Okay. These are data models for the water domain. Valve, pump, and pipe have been updated. This is a new data model about risk assessment. This is, there is a good pull requests regarding batteries. Some of them are for energy, for environment, for ports, and for smart cities. So this is the kind of things that you can find here in order to know, what's going on. And of course, you don't need to go here and to check in constantly. You can go to the subscribe part in which, you can click the topic that you want, general news, or you go for smart energy, put your mail here, and once a week on Fridays, you will get just a mail telling you what is going on. Some of the news which are relevant to you. Okay. Sometimes we have to tell you we have some issue with the spam because it's coming from a shared server. So if you are subscribed and you don't receive, just let us know, because maybe there's a problem with an issue with the spam. It happens to some of our users. Okay. What else do you have here? You have, if you are not an expert data modeler, which happens to many people, maybe it's not your case, you have also the way of doing a, let's say, a pull request. So to request a new data model or a change, but with the usual form. With you have here just the use case to explain the compatibility. Okay, if you are using the coding guidelines that I'm recommending, let me put it into new. These are the guidelines, okay, regarding the syntax, the reuse, the data types, the definition of attributes, how to code in numbers, units, relative values, locations, so on. Okay, and this is a live document. So whenever there is something which has not been considered, we can update this and to share with all the users. Okay. What else do we have here? Apart from this is just for the payload, we have something which is relevant, and I was going to explain to you later, which is the contribution agreement. The contribution agreement is that whenever you contribute, then we have to have the rights for releasing what you are contributed with an open source license. So therefore, you have to give us the rights to share it. Otherwise, we are, let's say, into a limbo regarding the legal concerns. Okay, and what you need for this contribution agreement is just to put your GitHub user, an email, and your name. Okay, and if you are signing on behalf of the organization, you can include here the name of the organization and any comment that you wish. Once you have signed this, we are ready to approve any contribution that you can do for this way, or just doing a kind of a pull request, the usual pull request. Let me go for any of the energy. Let's say go here. I'm going to do the repository of green energy, and possibly we'll have here some pull requests. Okay, go here. No, none of them is open, but there is, okay, here there is a pull request. So this person, who is Esteban Rivas, has to sign the contribution agreement in order to that this pull request is accepted. Okay. Let me go back to the presentation. Here we are. I have this, and to share again the presentation. Let me go. This one. Yes. Okay. So I've explained to you the structure is better to see on live than just in this slide. And regarding governance, what is the structure? So there is a steering board, okay, which are composed currently by IDEASFORUM and FIWARE Foundation, okay. This is the governing body, but it's on the extension, and possibly in mid-November we have a new member here, okay. We have the domains, and you can be administrator of the domain. Domains are restricted to organization, to relevant organization in the sector, and the subject that can be either a person or another organization. And this is the way of participating, depending if you want to become a steering board member, an incumbent and stakeholder managing a domain, just a contributor, or just a user. So, of course, for becoming a user, you don't need anything but download it and use it, the data models, okay? I'm not going to get into this because there is some explanation here. So, imagine, today I want to contribute with some data models which I think are very relevant, very used, and I want to do it. Okay, what do you need? Need a GitHub account to sign the contribution agreement that I've showed to you. Use the guidelines, okay? And there is a contribution manual. This contribution manual explains what is the documentation that you have to create, okay? Let me just click a couple of clicks. I have to stop sharing and sharing another one, which is, here we are. Okay, this is the contribution manual, and this is what you have to do. The examples, the schema, the specification, and the contributors. And automatically, once you submit this, there are generated all these files which are available into this data model. I'm gonna click just, these are the types is explained to you, and here you have a template for creating this. And this is another example, and you have the template. You have here another template, and in order to create the schema, you have several tools for validating and for helping you, because maybe you are not familiar with JSON schema. There are some tools, and of course there is a better tool, which is if you get into trouble, just drop us an email and we'll help you. Okay, so it's not that difficult. And this is how to create the specification and how to create the contributors and so on. And the rest of the documents are automatically generated, so you don't have to care about. Let me go back to the presentation. I'm finishing. Let me go. Sorry for the change. I guess this is the one. Okay, here we are. So if you want to become a contributor, this is what you have to do. If you want to become an administrator or get into the steering board, then you have to talk directly with our organization. You can drop me an email and I will run the process for you. Okay. Regarding the data models, we do not invent a data model whenever it's possible. So we are, let's say, a lazy guys. So if there is something invented that working, go for it. So, and this is the case for some of the regulations that you have, the IEC 6197720, and these ones we are in the process of adapting in an automatic way because they are quite extensive regulations. But this is also true for some other standards. This UNE 178503 is for smart destinations, for GS1, for the smart buildings. So there, what we do is just to translate this existing regulation to some payloads that you can use with your context broker or with whatever element of the platform FIWARE that you have, or even with some others. Okay. It is also true that sometimes there are voluntaries which are using something and they provide examples. Is not the most of the cases, so it's not very popular. But and projects, some research projects in which you are creating new data models emerging for some points in which there is no actual regulation. We also help to use that. Okay, and there are some other sources like agreements with other organizations and so on. And this is the process for a new data model. So whenever there is a candidate, the first thing that we do is just to check if it's an actual use. If there is not an actual use and is not emerging, we are done. So it's up to you. So sorry, I'm academic. I became doctor not so long time ago, so I'm not discriminated, but there are many ontologies that nobody uses. Okay, they can submit the data model based on these ontologies. Okay, who is using this? Okay, nobody. Call me when somebody is using it in a real case scenario. Okay, if there is an actual use, what we check is that is there an open regulation available? If there is an existing regulation open and adopted, then we have to align because we do not want to reinvent the wheel. Many times what we find out is that there are some regulations, but these regulations do not go into the details of the data model, do not get into the details of the name of this field, the name of this property, okay? And we go for it. We go to the very end, okay? If there is an open regulation, we align. If there is not an open regulation, okay, we go create a draft version, and this draft version, which possibly is into incubated repo, as you see into the red label, is discussed, commented, and so on, and there are the changes necessary. And once it's, let's say, approved, then go and becomes a new data model. And this is the process, not more complicated, because this can be done in a day. If there is an alignment with regulation, it could take more time, but there's no such a regulation. A draft version can be created in another day, and these changes could take a week. Okay, and you have, let's say, in 9-10 days, a new data model really working for you. Okay, and this is data model lifecycle. So we have an incubated repository in which is like the Wild West. Everybody can contribute. Everybody can do whatever they want. There is no control here up to the point that they tell us, oh, I guess that this data model is ready to be assessed. And we go for it, check it out. Sometimes we provide some advices. Oh, you are missing this, and this, and this. Please fix it. Or sometimes we get the harmonized repository, which are data models which are initially accepted, but they are missing some of the elements. Let's say part of the examples, the documentation is not complete, the JSON schema is not validating the payloads, these kind of things, and they are there before becoming official. And once you become official, maybe in the coming future, some of them will be made obsolete or no. Okay, and in any stage, some of the data models won't go for an official one. Nothing happens. Okay, it's nice. And what services are we providing to you? We are providing a database of attributes and enumeration, so you can check if any property is already defined in any other data model. And in the second link, you have the description of this. You can subscribe to the news I've explained to you, and we provide support to the issues that you raise into the GitHub repository. You can submit that I've explained to you, and I've shown you also the manual and the contribution agreement. And here you have some videos explaining how to do it in YouTube. And let me end just with the roadmap that we have. These are the last news for September and October. Oh, what an October. So we are automated the context and the terms. So now every day are constantly updated. We have done the integration with EPANET. EPANET is a software for water network simulation. Okay, for simulating if there is a flood, what will happen with your sewage system, and these kind of things. There are several updates. We have around currently 41 incubated data models and 60 on harmonization. So there is a big queue. So we are updating also the documentation. We have created a proof of concept for random payloads. So providing you not only with these static examples that we have, but that you constantly click on a link and you get a new payload meeting the standardized data model. We are drafting data models for energy. In fact, 483 elements, thanks to a collaboration with RWTH University. Okay, and we are drafting a service for checking the properties of a new data model. When you submit a complete data model, you can check if every property in this data model has been already used in some other data models. Okay, and this is our roadmap. Our roadmap is just to extend the data models. Energy is on the first priority, okay, but also smart cities is increasing dramatically. We are also working with a smart destination. There's a new subject of ports, and this is not in the future. This is in the coming months. 1, 2, 3 months, depends on the difficulty. There are some data models coming for Agrifood, for water quality and water distribution. Into the aeronautics, there is already something available. It's pending to be accepted. And something that we are assessing is to a massive adoption of schema.org. We use schema.org already, but not for every element that you have. We are thinking on extending this. And regarding the automation of the initiative, this payload generator normalized with every data model. And the multi-language documentation of all the specification. Okay, so I wanted to tell you, and I'm open to your questions. Hopefully you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alberto. Let me ask a question. Will you be sharing the slides with us? I assume yes. And so if anybody is interested in getting a little deeper, the links to the portal are in the presentation.
Yeah. In fact, I could do it right now and put the link into the chat for you. Let me change it. The status. Anyone with the link. Even you can comment. So feel free to do it, because whenever you comment, there is a message to me. So I will be able to copy. I'm pasting here.
Okay, that's great.
Copy, yes. Let me paste. Yeah, here we are. You have it.
Thank you.
So I'm open to any other questions. So.
Yeah, this is Rob speaking from the Commission. Thanks, Alberto, for the presentation. I think I have a general question, because I think I like the approach which you have outlined. The data models, I think it's an essential part of sort of sustain some developments in the projects, and later on as well using the tools. But that said, we had about 4 or 5 years ago, we had a project on parking. And schema.org was extensively used already that in order to describe sort of a harmonized data model across different, even competing companies in the project, which was all nice and fine. And we also worked with WCC. But then, we arrived at the point where said, now we go for the next stage. And there was the ones who own the data, basically who generate the data. And they told me, well, we understand it's very nicely documented, but it takes an effort, to then, to the real data, to produce the real data and transform it into the relevant data model and the data format. So my question now is, if you have now the extensive library of different models, do you somehow track and trace sort of who's using it? How flexible is it? How volatile? How agile is the approach? Some of the data models might be more easy to use, other might be more complex. So how do you track the uptake of the different models and the momentum?
That's the $1 million question. No. We are completely aware of that. I'm going to answer something which is already solved and something which is not. Which is already solved. I haven't get into the details, but one of the things that we are doing, and is on the guidelines, is that few properties of these data models are mandatory. So why do we stress that much on that? Because a data model is a way of structuring information, not a way of using. And sometimes you are using not the complete data model, but part of it. The important point is that the part that you use could match some other parts that somebody who is using the complete data model. And therefore, we strongly recommend the contributors the minimum amount of required properties in order to extend the flexibility. It is also true that these data models does not prevent you to use additional properties for your own use. Okay, it is nice. And of course, the license that you have entitles you to do it so, or even if you want to share that modifications and to share back with us, because sometimes many users are contributing. And regarding the use, this is something that really concerns us, because as I've explained to everybody, we are not here for carrying something that nobody uses. And that's why one of the services that we are providing, which is the payloads generator, is going on that direction, because otherwise we cannot have a precise information of what is being done, if there's any difficulties, and so on. it is also true that people is quite, is quite open. So whenever there's an issue, they raise an issue on GitHub and say, oh, why are you doing this? Or why don't you that? There is quite open and quite flexible. And in that sense, we are quite happy with the community. The community is quite collaborative because the goal, the final goal, is to have something which works. So fortunately, FIWARE Foundation is, and the rest of members, we are not here for making a business out of this. So that we have, let's say, some of priorities. No, we are here for providing, for creating our platform. And creating our platform is providing something useful for users. And so that's why we stress that much. And in fact, one of the things that I haven't put here, because it's on the fridge, but it will be soon, is to make service to the users whenever we have, let's say, a contact. So summarizing, so flexibility is a key element, and we are quite aware, and we are doing this as much as we can. And regarding who is using this, what we can do, we can tell you is that we are quite aware of some data models to be very used because we have lots of, let's say, comments, contributions, these kind of things, and there are some others which are less, but we don't have precise information about what is the use in one sector and the other.
Hi, Alberto, I've got a question. Stephen here from Hierbei. How does the smart data models relate to the SARF ontologies?
Oh, very good, very good. So we have a strong connection, but having said that, and we adopt some of the elements of SARF ontologies because, as I explained to you, we do not want to invent anything, of course. But it is also true, and the case that I've explained to you is one of them, the example of the firm. We cannot take SARF for granted. So SARF is relevant, it's a good standardization, but as long as if there is implementation, it's the best thing that we can take. But if there is an implementation, and sometimes our users are telling us, SARF is nice, but if I'm taking, let's say, completely or strictly SARF, this is not going to solve my problem. So we don't have, let's say, so we prefer to go for official regulations, like SARF or many others. But if you have implementation, if you don't have, I don't want to that we are against SARF. Absolutely, no. We are quite aware, quite participant, especially in SARF for water. We are quite related. But the user rules.
Okay.
If I may add on this, we had scheduled a couple of weeks ago an event that we had to cancel for some technical issues on the Sargon, the Smart Energy Domain Ontology. That is a project from the University of Aachen, from the RWTH in Aachen. And this is somehow designing out of SARF's extensions which can be used across, I would say, smart energy applications. So we'll try to reschedule this, probably will be in a few weeks. But if you're interested in SARF, just stay tuned because we will definitely look into this in the very near future. We have come to the hour. I just wanted to thank Alberto for his presentation and just wrap up with you. Alberto, thank you very much. I think it was quite interesting to see the work that you have done and you are doing to support the community. This is really amazing. Once again, a real thank you. We are working together, especially on the energy domain. But I mean, this is just a small chunk of your work. So really thanks a million for all of your efforts. It's really great having the chance to work with you. As IDEASFORUM, we will have a few more events in the next few weeks. Apologies. When you're doing these things from home, you have your dog coming in and playing. We have a couple of relevant events for the ones of you who are German speakers. In particular, there is the first, I would say, German introduction of the Linux for Energy Foundation program next week. This will be, unfortunately, in German. So if you're not a German speaker, apologies for that. And then we have a couple of other initiatives that are focused on somehow providing some more information about foundations for platforms supporting different domains. I wanted to thank you for attending. It was great having you here. Thank you for interacting with us. And the slides and the recording will be made available in the next few days. If you care, please join us on our social media channels. If you have ideas or suggestions, reach out to us. We'll definitely take care of each and every suggestion. So thanks again. I wish you a wonderful afternoon, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.